Every chief executive fears the moment his kingdom starts to crumble. Not from a sudden market crash or a hostile takeover, but from the slow, insidious rot of neglect. The kind of rot you can't see from the corner office on the 40th floor. Avery Sterling, the CEO of Coastline Coffee, a chain of 700 successful cafes across the country, felt that cold dread gripping him, a sickening suspicion that the culture he built, a culture of genuine service and pride, was dissolving into mere transactions. He had poured his lifeblood into this company, built it with his father and grandfather, men who believed a handshake and a real smile mattered more than a quick profit. Now whispers of rude staff, inconsistent quality, and a general air of indifference had reached his ears not through formal reports which always painted a rosy picture, but through online chatter and a few brave emails from loyal, concerned customers. He needed to know the unvarnished truth, the ugly reality, before it was too late. He had to go down to the trenches to feel the dirt under his own fingernails. He wondered if he was about to confirm his deepest professional fear, the painful realization that he had failed the men who trusted him. Have you ever felt that stomach-dropping fear, the one that tells you something you love is in danger and you're the only one who can save it? Tell me where you're watching from. Let's see our global reach. Now let's dive to sea. Avery, disguised beneath a thick dark beard he'd grown out for the occasion, and wearing an old, plain, non-branded baseball cap pulled low over his eyes, felt the cheap fabric of his borrowed fleece jacket itch against his skin. His face, normally smooth and recognized by every regional manager, was now just another tired face in the morning rush. He had chosen the Pine Bluff location, one of the busiest, and one with a surprisingly high number of negative reviews recently flagged by his assistant Caleb. He stepped out of his modest rented sedan, leaving his luxury vehicle miles away, and walked into the cafe. The air inside was thick with the scent of roasted beans and stale steam, but also a palpable tension, a kind of hurried, exhausted energy. The line was long, maybe 15 men deep, and it moved with agonizing slowness. Avery watched. The young man at the register, a college kid named Devon according to his name tag, was moving mechanically, eyes glazed over, barely making eye contact as he barked out order totals. The service was efficient, yes, but devoid of any soul. This was exactly what Avery feared. His company had become a robot, a cog in the national machine. When his turn finally came, Avery cleared his throat, trying to sound a little rougher than usual. "A large black coffee, please," he mumbled, reaching into the pocket of his worn jacket for his wallet, which he'd loaded with simple $20 bills instead of his usual corporate credit cards. Devon, without looking up, rattled off the price. Avery pulled out a 20 and laid it on the counter. Devon picked it up, pressed a few buttons, and the drawer popped open. Just as Devon was about to grab the change, a loud, piercing scream erupted from the back, near the espresso machine. "No, Chester, you can't just walk out." A man, a shift supervisor, Avery realized, seeing the striped collar under his apron, came storming out of the back, his face tight with anger, chasing another man, Chester, who was already shrugging into a heavy coat. Chester, a tall, older man with weary lines around his eyes, just shook his head, a look of profound, exhausted defeat on his face. "I'm done, Frank," Chester said, his voice flat but carrying across the suddenly quiet cafe. "I can't do it anymore. The hours, the way you talk to us, the disrespect. I've been making coffee here since the first store opened 20 years ago, and I'm not a kid to be yelled at. I'm done." He paused, his gaze sweeping over the silent customers, and finally landed on Avery. He took a deep, shuddering breath. "It's a good place, but the leadership here, it just sucks the life out of you, man. I gotta go. Take care." And with that, Chester turned his back on his shift supervisor and walked right out the door, the bell above it jingling its final goodbye. The silence that followed was heavy and uncomfortable. Frank, red-faced and furious, ran a hand over his short hair and then glared at Devon. "Get back to work! And you!" he snapped, pointing at a new hire standing frozen by the condiment bar. "Clean up that mess on Station 3. Now!" He turned his anger on Avery. "Next customer! This isn't a show! Move it!" Avery felt a cold spike of pure fury mixed with shame. Disrespect. That was the core of the problem. His grandfather used to say, "A good leader serves his people. He doesn't shout at them." He looked at Devon, who was still standing by the cash register, his hand hovering over the change drawer. Avery held out his hand for his coffee cup and his change. Devon slowly slid the cup across the counter. Then he looked up, meeting Avery's eyes for the first time. His own eyes were not glazed over anymore. They were wide, filled with a sudden, silent desperation. He didn't push the change across. Instead, he pulled the $20 bill back off the counter, folding it neatly, and he tucked it, along with the correct amount of change, into Avery's open palm. Avery froze. "What are you doing?" he asked, his voice low and confused. I haven't paid yet. That 20 is for the coffee." Devon's eyes flicked nervously toward Frank, who was still bristling near the back office door. Devon leaned forward slightly, his voice barely a whisper, a strained, honest plea. "Sir, please, take the money. Just go. That 20, it's yours. Just consider your coffee on the house today, okay? Please, just take it, sir." "I can't take your money." Avery stopped cold. He stared at the bundled money in his hand, his 20 and the change, and then at Devon. The employee was refusing to take his money, but not in a gesture of generosity or corporate policy. There was pain in the young man's eyes, a genuine fear that was utterly baffling. "Why?" Avery insisted, his undercover persona momentarily forgotten. "Just tell me why. I want to pay." Devon's lip trembled. I can't. I really can't. I'll get fired. That register is broken, sir. It's been broken for 2 days, and Frank won't call it in for service. It undercharges by $1 on every cash order, and he knows it. He makes us keep taking cash, and then he pockets the difference from the drawer at the end of the day, saying it's a system glitch. He threatens to fire anyone who complains or uses their own card instead. Chester. He saw it, and he refused to do it again this morning. That's why he walked out. I can't be a part of stealing from the company, but I need this job to pay for my brother's college books. If I ring up your 20, I have to give you back the wrong change, and I don't want to rip you off either. Please, sir, just go. I'll mark it as a spillage." Avery's vision narrowed to the face of the young man in front of him. Corruption, theft, intimidation. It wasn't just bad service, it was criminal, and it was destroying the souls of good men like Chester and Devon. Avery felt a surge of cold, righteous clarity. He dropped the money back onto the counter, covering Devon's hand with his own large, firm one. "Keep the money, son," Avery said, his voice now deep and commanding, devoid of any attempt at disguise. Devon's eyes went wide with sudden terror, mistaking the authority for anger. Frank, hearing the change in tone, was already moving toward them. Avery looked straight at Devon, his expression softening instantly. "You showed real character today, son. You chose to protect an honest customer and your own integrity over a paycheck. Character is what you do when no one is watching, but courage is what you do when everyone is." He glanced past Devon toward Frank, who had just arrived at the counter, a sneer on his face. Avery reached up and slowly pulled off the old baseball cap, exposing his familiar silver hair and piercing eyes. He placed his hands flat on the counter. His voice boomed, clear and steady, filling the sudden, deep silence of the cafe. "My name is Avery Sterling, and I own Coastline Coffee. Frank," he said, looking the shift supervisor dead in the eye, "you're finished. And Devon," he turned back to the stunned young man, a genuine smile finally breaking through his hard exterior, "you're promoted. I need a man like you, a man who understands that the heart of a business isn't the profit margin. It's the honest man standing on the front line." The truth had unfolded in painful stages, but the final, satisfying payoff was the look of pure, tearful relief on Devon's face. It was a clear, memorable moral lesson that a leader must remember. Never stop looking beyond the numbers, because a company's true wealth is the integrity of its people, of its